Hey folks, Justin from Tackle Tactics. Excited today to be bringing you a how to rig and fish on a new addition to the ZMan range. This new addition is already becoming a go-to for many anglers. It is the deadly little ZMan 2.5 inch ST GrubZ. So today we'll have a look at the colors in the range and we'll have a look at which jig heads suit this plastic and how we might fish them. Alright, so when we added another 2.5 inch GrubZ to the range, we had a lot of people asking why another 2.5 inch GrubZ. We've already got a 2.5 inch GrubZ. It's super popular. It catches stacks of different fish. It's won a lot of tournaments. Why do we want to put another GrubZ in the range? And the secret to this one is in its name, ST GrubZ. So that's one of the features of it, but I'll show you a couple of different features of this GrubZ that make it so different to the standard GrubZ. For me, this is what I would call the ultimate finesse GrubZ for a couple of reasons. In the tail of this plastic, rather than just have the straight curl tail, it is actually split into 4 fingers on the tail of the plastic. The cool thing is when you fish this, each of those little fingers ripple. So on the drop, you've got this more rippling sort of action. It's interesting, lots of people describing it in different ways, but it's like a rippling of the tail. And when you fish it really slow on a light head, you get a different tail action to the standard GrubZ. So that rippling tail is super finessey, and even when it's just sitting there in the water, those fingers move differently to the standard 2.5 inch GrubZ. Because it's naturally buoyant, when it's on the bottom, that tail will stand up and move around, so those fingers attract the fish to it. Fish don't have hands to touch it and see what it is, so the only way they can have a look at what it is with their mouth. So once you've got them biting it, fish on. So we've got that tail on here, that split tail, which is where the GrubZ got its name from, that ST GrubZ. The body of the GrubZ though is very, very different to the normal GrubZ. So the 2.5 inch GrubZ has a ribbed body, but this guy here has a heavily ribbed body that goes down to a solid core. So there's a lot more rib action in the body of this GrubZ here. What that does is it gives you more water movement and vibration. It traps air bubbles, so on the fall it's letting go air bubbles. It looks super realistic and it feels really, really soft and natural as well. Also, by increasing the depth of those ridges and having that very, very heavily ribbed body, we're increasing the surface area of that plastic as well. So when we add scent to it, it's dispersing more scent, Procure Super Gel, we just put it in there, and it's also holding that scent, retaining that scent more effectively, which again helps with that finesse factor. When that bite's tough, we've got this really soft feel, this natural ribbing, we've got the split tail, and we can hold scent in there really well also. So deadly GrubZ, ST GrubZ, and really, really going to be really effective on that finesse bite, on that tough bite. In terms of colors in the range, a dozen colors to kick off with, and there's some gems in there. Well, they're all winners, but there's something in there for all you guys, whether you're fishing fresh, whether you're fishing salt, clear water, dirty water, light day, dark day. So there's some really good UV options in there. So the whole oil family is in this ST GrubZ. So we've got the motor oil, the midnight oil with that silver fleck, the blood oil with that bloodworm fleck in there, and the dirty oil with that black fleck and glitter in there as well. So all 4 in the oils, so you've got the oil covered. In terms of light natural colors, there's an opening night, Laguna shrimp, and a slam shady, so matching that white bait and jelly prawn and that sort of thing. Dark morning or dirty water, we've got some dark colors here as well, like the pumpkin, which has been very popular, Houdini, watermelon red, which is an old favorite for sure. And then we've also got a couple of Larry ones just to mix it up as well. You know, if nothing's working, change it up, go for something fluoro or bright. And there's the Calico Candy, which is already a favorite on the redfin and those sorts of things, and a stack of other species. And also that Sexy Penny, which is very popular in the dirty water and low light, as well as clear water. It's a sort of an all-round color, that Sexy Penny. So a dozen cool colors in that range. And let's have a look now at what jig heads this plastic rigs well on. So I've got a stack of TT heads here, and we'll just talk our way through it, from some finessey stuff to some more heavy stuff, and then into the Weedless, so that you're covered for all options. Firstly, very popular jig head for the brim tournaments and fishing up around the pontoons and flats and mangroves edges, where we want that plastic up in the water column on a slow natural fall. Like say this here was a pontoon, we want to be fishing right up tight under the pontoon, so we want a really slow fall. In that case, the hidden weight system is an excellent option, and that hidden weight system has the weight mounted on the shaft of the hook. So that means once you put the plastic on, the weight is concealed inside the plastic. So we've just got our eye and our hook point showing. So that's a Gamakatsu hook that's available in a fine wire or a heavy. So you'll see on those hidden weight system packets, it'll say a 2 or a 2H for the heavier hook. And I've found that it rigs beautifully on a 2, also on a 1, sits nicely on a 1, that's probably a great all-rounder for people. And then a 1.0 if you do want a larger hook in that plastic as well. So that's the hidden weight system in a 2, 1 and a 1.0. A great way to present that plastic supernatural in shallow water and also hold it up around structure when fish are feeding up into structure. The same hook is on our TT Headlocks Finesse. So that's a Gamakatsu hook on there as well, fine wire. So in that one there, we're going to go the same hook sizes because it's basically the same hook. It's that Gamma hook. So again, a 2, a 1, and also rigging on a 1.0 if you want a bit more hook size. So if you've got really, you know, a lot of the guys with the southern black brim, they're real finessey, slow takes, real finicky. So you might want to go that 2 so that you don't have a great amount of hook exposure and they get that plastic right in. You can set the hook. 1's a good all-rounder, and then a 1.0 if the fish are more aggressive, or you know, you might be fishing it for flathead and trevally and larger species where you want that 1.0 hook in there. So 2, 1 and a 1.0, and that gives it that head forward traditional style of presentation. So it's going to flutter down head first, that tail's going to be doing its thing, and then it sits on the bottom and that tail just gets up and works and attracts the bite from the fish. So that's a Headlocks Finesse in a 2, a 1 and a 1.0. And because that hook is also available in a heavy in the Demons, that Gamakatsu hook in the Demons is a painted head with eyes, which gives you another option for presenting that ST GrubZ. So the 2.5 inch ST GrubZ, that Demons is on a 1 and a 1.0. So again, we can fit that 2.5 inch ST GrubZ on a 1 and on a 1.0 hook. So kind of cool, just changes it up. You know, if the bite's tough or you want to mix it up, that painted head with the 3D eyes is a cool option. And the way that that is designed, that jig head, it's tapered down like that so that it rides nice. And when it moves, it captures the light as well. So it creates flash off that head of the jig head as well. So I've found sometimes across the flats, it really draws the fish in and you get those real aggressive strikes. So yeah, that's another way to mix it up, adding that head with the painted head with the eyes on there. So that's the TT Demons in a 1 and a 1.0 hook, again, because we're in that Gamakatsu range of hooks. One trick I've found, a question often asked is, do I rig tail up or tail down? You can rig it however you like. I know some people that don't even look, they just rig it. If it's sideways, it doesn't worry them or whatever. Most people will rig tail up, the aim being that the tail of the plastic is working around the hook point. So the plastic's up, the bite comes around the hook point. What you'll find, if you're finding that you're fishing really light and twitchy and shaky retrieves and that sort of thing, and you are getting the plastic tail caught around the hook, what you can do is rig tail down. So some anglers will rig tail down when they're fishing really light presentations, tail up when they sort of get up to those head weighted 1/16th and 1/12th and that sort of thing upwards. So yeah, for your really, really light presentations, you may want to go tail down. Just try it, worth a try. Alrighty, so that's on the Gamma hook. We're on a 2, 1 and a 1.0. We might then want to step that plastic up because we know the 2.5 inch GrubZ has caught everything, like so many different species. We're over 100 species on the 2.5 inch GrubZ, so it catches a lot of fish. So it's nailed barramundi, jacks, you know, mulloway, all sorts of species eat the 2.5 inch GrubZ. And this little guy is going to be the same, the 2.5 inch ST GrubZ. So you may want to step up to a heavier hook for taking on those bigger fish or extracting fish out of structure as well if you're fishing heavy structure. In that case, we will go to the mustard hook. So this is a heavy duty mustard hook. Still beautiful chemically sharpened black nickel hook, so still very sticky, nice and sharp. And it's available in a range of sizes. So I would step down a size with the mustard compared to the Gamma. So the Gamma 2 is similar to the mustard HD 4. So in our range of heads here, we've got our Headlocks HD, very, very popular jig head, powerful for stopping big fish and getting fish out of structure on heavier drags and that sort of thing. So in that case, I've got it here on a 4, and you can see it looks very similar on a 4 to the Gamma 2. So I would go a Headlocks HD in a 4, a 2, and a 1. And you can see comparison-wise is very similar to a 2, 1, and 1.0 in the Gamma, is a 4, 2, and a 1 in the Headlocks HD. Some people will squeeze another hook size in there, and you can probably step up a hook size in the Gamma or the Mustard and just squeeze it right into the tip of the tail, but it sits really nice and leaves that little separate section of the tail there to do its thing if you rig it on that 1.0 in a Gamma, 1 in a Mustard. So Headlocks HD in a 4, a 2, and a 1 in a heavy wire hook for stopping big fish. Perfect for flatties and trevally and all sorts of things that want to eat that smaller bait, whether it's prawns flicking on the top, tiny bait fish, crabs, whatever it might be. When that profile size matches, you want that heavy hook if you're targeting big fish. All right, we can step up then to another option. So again, this is on that same Mustard hook. So we've looked at the range in the Gamma, let's look at the range in the Mustard. So we've got the Headlocks HD, then we've also got the Nedlocks. For those of you that want to Ned rig this plastic, and it Ned rigs absolutely beautiful, because that Ned rig is designed for a rapid stand-up flee, and your tail is always working for you, this is a brilliant presentation. So on the 1/15 ounce Nedlocks, it's a size 2 hook, and it fits in there beautifully, the same as our 2 on our Headlocks HD, and that tail is going to stand up and just do its thing, shake it away, fleeing, defending, or feeding in the bottom. So that's going to be a deadly presentation. So that's on a size 2 in the 1/15 ounce. And then we step up to the size 1, and that's in a 1/10, a 1/6, and a 1/5 ounce. So that size 1 fits beautifully in there as well, and that's going to be deadly. I'll be nailing a heap of flatties in amongst the weed pockets and that sort of thing with that guy. So that's the Nedlocks. Fits on there on a size 2 and a size 1 in the Nedlocks. And then the Nedlocks EWG is also available in a 1/15, 1/10, 1/6, and 1/5. And that Nedlocks EWG is a weedless option for Ned rigging. So I've got 2 here, but the only reason I've got 2, they're all the same hook size, a size 1, which is a custom hook that we had made for the Nedlocks EWG. And that's brilliant for fishing in amongst structure, weed, everywhere where your normal presentation would foul up. You can throw this guy into some crazy country. And the great thing about rigging this weedless is that ribbed body, the ribs tuck up around the hook to make it very, very weedless, but also because of the softness of that with that heavy ribbing and that core, it clears very easy on a weedless jig head. So I've got 2 different colors there just to show you that the Nedlocks EWG, you know, if you want to keep it nice and natural, you can go with a black or a green pumpkin, whereas if you want to get a bit of that UV pop, you can go with that yellow, the chartreuse or the orange head. So chartreuse or orange for some UV pop, or keep it natural with that black or that green pumpkin. That's going to be deadly. I'm looking forward to fishing that one a lot. That's the Nedlocks EWG with that 2.5 inch ZMan ST GrubZ. All right, there's also another option on that same heavy wire hook, and that is the Revlocks. So the Revlocks is available in a 2 and a 1. So we know that Headlocks HD 2 and 1 will fit, so we know that that 2 and 1 in the Revlocks will fit. And the Revlocks is an underspin jig head. So basically that means it has a blade attached underneath the jig head. So this is going to give you some extra flash and vibration, as well as the tail of the plastic working. Very, very popular in the freshwater for bass, golden perch, Saratoga, jungle perch, sooty grunter, all those sorts of things. Love that bit of flash, that bit of bling attracting their attention. But also for those, you know, chasing flathead, tailor, trevally, all sorts of other species that love a bit of flash as well. It can, yeah, really fire up those flatties fished over the top of the weed beds and that sort of thing. So that's a size 2 and a size 1 in a TT Revlocks jig head. So the rev is revving underneath there, that blade spinning. And those blades are available in a gold color and also a nickel plated blade, which is a silver color. So a gold and a silver colored blade, and also in a willow and a Colorado. So a willow is like a longer, skinnier willow leaf, and the Colorado is rounder. So the Colorado has a slower sort of thump and generally creates a little bit of lift, whereas the willow is much thinner, fish it faster, runs deeper, and that sort of thing. So you can mix it up to suit the conditions that you're fishing. Nickel, the silver is very popular in the salt as well, with the gold very popular in the fresh, but mix it up as you like. So that's our TT Revlocks in a 2 and a 1. So that's pretty much, we've covered the standard style of jig heads and that Nedlocks rigging. So that's our, remember, a 2, 1 and a 1.0 across the gamma, which is the hidden weights, the Headlocks Finesse and the Demons. When you come to the heavier hook, it's a 4, 2 and a 1 across the TT Headlocks HD, Nedlocks and Nedlocks EWG and the Revlocks. And then we can step into our traditional weedless rigging hooks, which is our Chinlocks and our Snakelocks Finesse. Now with our, we recently did rigging our prawns, the 2.5 inch prawns, and I found that the prawns being a little bit bulkier, bigger profile, it rigged really well on the 2 and the 1 in a Chinlocks or a Snakelocks Finesse. 2 and a 1, whereas I found the grubs I had to step down one size. So in the Chinlocks, you could fish this guy across the surface. And the great thing about this ribbed body, as I said before with the Nedlocks EWG, is it clears so well when the fish bite it. But it also protects the hook so well because that ribbed body tucks right in around the hook and protects that hook. So you could rig it totally unweighted on a Chinlocks in a size 4 or a size 2 in the Chinlocks. So all we've got there for casting is pretty much the hook weight and the weight of the plastic. There's no actual weight on that head. So really, really cool if you wanted to say flick it and work it in around the pontoons for brim across the surface, or you want to fish for bass and other freshwater species around the lilies and weed. That's going to allow you to run that plastic across the top and get those surface bites. So I think that's going to get smashed off the top, that thing. So that's a 4 and a 2. There's our 4 there, you can see, fits beautifully on that 4, and because of that rib body it will clear well. And then that's it there on a 2, which I reckon is probably the go-to. That's spot on, that size 2 in a TT Chinlocks Finesse, and that'll clear really well when a fish hits it. So brim, bass, all sorts of things are going to eat that guy off the top. And then of course our Snakelocks, which is the weighted version. So it has a removable head weight. We can clip that hook off and on, so we can mix and match head weights and hook sizes. Oh, need my glasses. So we'll clip that guy back on, there we go. And so there, that has the head weight for when we want to get it down there a bit quicker and get it down there in amongst the structure. So fishing timber, fishing weed, all that sort of thing, getting it down there where the fish are hiding in that structure. And it's going to look beautiful fluttering down and then standing up with that tail moving around. So that's the TT Snakelocks Finesse, and again it fits beautifully on that number 4, and it also rigs really nicely on that 2 as well. So that's the number 2. Probably looks beautiful, I'd say spot on that number 2, and the fish will clear it really well. So brim guys, bass guys, anyone fishing flatties in the weed and that, check that out, that number 2 Chinlocks Finesse for that 2.5 inch ST GrubZ. All right, so that's a bit of a quick one, overview of jig heads for fitting that ST GrubZ and sort of where we might fish those different jig heads. Ton of cool colors in the range. The other thing I'd say is make sure a bit of ProCure Super Gel on these has definitely worked for me. I always put my ProCure Super Gel on every sort of 30 or so casts, or maybe after I land a fish put a little bit more on. This ribbed body is going to hold it beautifully, and I run it right down to the tip of the tail as well. So depending on what's around, you might scent that up with saltwater yabby nipper, you might set it up with shrimp, you know, whatever works for you, whatever's in your kit. Me, I generally carry sort of a saltwater yabby nipper and then a bait fish like a sardine pilchard or something like that, or a mullet. So you know, you might be representing a bait fish, twitching it through bait fish schools. You might be representing a prawn flicking along the top or getting it down in amongst the weed where those prawns and crabs and things are. So there you go, that's a cool new addition. Very excited to see what you guys catch on that ZMan 2.5 inch ST GrubZ. Get out there, get stuck into them. All the best with the fishing. Cheers.